Amen. Gosh, thank the Lord for the privilege to be able to take some time to worship. Amen. God is good, isn't He? There we go. Lord, and what an opportunity we have each and every day, or each and every week. Well, every day at home, but each and every week to be able to come into this kind of a setting, kind of put everything off. We're going to continue on what we started last week, and I am on a mission. I'm on a mission for me personally. I hope that you will join this mission for yourself, for you and your family. And I hope that we can take what we're doing in our homes and put this church on a mission. I'm on a mission to free myself up and unstrap myself from financial burdens. I would say, well, you know what? We are going to have audience participation today. Ned, do me a favor. Bring up the lights a little bit. I want to make sure nobody's asleep today. There we go. Look at those beautiful faces. Look at that beautiful smile back there on Ryan. He's back there. Turn them up a little. Turn them up a little brighter. I want to see them. Turn them up all. Are they up all the way? Oh, geez. We need new bulbs in, don't we? Today, I want us to be completely, and I'm going to be completely honest with you and transparent with you. So I just want you to participate with me today. How many of you would say, right now, if you went outside and started your car and your engine blew up and it was going to be $1,500 to get it fixed, you would not have the emergency funds to get that done? I'm going to put my hand up. About half the church, maybe a little more than half the church. Well, let me ask you, audience participation. I'm sorry I don't have 3 doors to choose from. This isn't let's make a deal. How would you pay for it? Anybody? Not everybody at once, because it gets confusing when everybody shouts.
Credit card.
Credit card. How else?
Go without.
Kim? Go without? I was expecting that one. Anybody else? Walk? Bicycle? There's a guy in my neighborhood. He rides his bike everywhere. Sarah, you've seen him, right? You guys have seen him. He rides everywhere, doesn't he? It doesn't matter what the weather is either, does it? I mean, the roads won't even be plowed, and he'll be out there on that bicycle riding up and down Durr Road, if you know where the hills are, all the time. And he looks angry all the time, doesn't he? I'd be angry too. 40-mile-an-hour winds blowing me off the road. Why, and you don't need to answer this, but just think about it. Why is it we are like that? When we shouldn't be. And I think we all know the answer is that we've all just made some decisions that over the course of maybe 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, whatever it is, we've all made decisions that have put us in that position. Am I right? We've strapped ourselves to debt that we use every excuse we can not to save. I made up my mind. I was starting I have my very first savings account, and I'm ready to retire. I have $389 in my savings account. How many of you would say, I don't even have that? Come on, be honest. Look at that. About a quarter of the church. I don't even have $390. That's it. That's my savings account. But I'm working on it. What I'm trying to do is live on a principle of 80-10-10. 10% of my pay, every time I get paid, 10% automatically goes into my savings account, so I don't even see it. It go into the checking. 10% goes to God every week, and then I'm budgeting our household on 80%. But we've used every excuse not to live that way, myself included. We use the excuses of, I can't afford it. We use the excuse of, I got to live. We use the excuse of, well, you only live once, and when I die, I can't take it with me. Anybody said that? I've said that. We only live one time. I'm going to spend however I want to spend. And then we find ourselves, I don't know if we say that expecting to die in a week, and we're saying let somebody else deal with it. I don't know really what our thinking is, but really we spend, I mentioned last week, we manage our money a lot based on how we feel and not really on sound principle. We manage our money and we do things with it based on the circumstance in our life, based on what we're going through at the time. We say things like, I deserve it. And it puts us in a bad spot. And I think as I'm entering my 40th birthday here in a month or so, that's right, I'm climbing over the hill. Thank God that 40 is the new 30, so I have 10 more years to not have to go over the hill. But as I'm approaching that and I am evaluating my life, I realize I've not done really what I've seen throughout the Bible. I mean, if you read throughout the Old Testament, the fathers always left an inheritance to the sons. And I don't have that in place. I don't have that inheritance. And so I'm building it now and I'm trying to do what God wants me to do. And it just means that sometimes I'm going to have to say no to some things. Proverbs 22:7 is our foundational verse. And we read this last week. It says, the rich rule over the poor, and the borrower is what? Is a servant, is a slave to the lender. What do we spend our weeks working for? To do what? To pay our bills. Why? Because we're slave to our bills. I talk to people all the time. How you doing? What's going on in your life? Just making the rent. Just paying the rent. And a lot of us, even in the church, don't see more to life than that. We're just working to pay the bills. And really, you and I have been made for more than that. We really are. We get to a point in our life where we kind of get frustrated with what we see, and we get a little discontented, and we have a choice to make. And right now, starting in 2013, as the life groups are starting, as FPU is starting, as we're kind of going through this journey together, we have a decision to make together. We're either going to change the course of our lives, or we're going to remain frustrated another year. Because believe it or not, you may not believe this about yourself, but it's the truth. You have been designed for greatness, for greater things. You have giftings, you have a calling, you have talents that have not been put to use because you found yourself strapped to the burdens of this world. And when you get 40, 45, 50, or you get all the way to retirement, you look back to your life and we become frustrated because we look at what's going on or what has happened in our life and we say this, boy, it didn't pan out the way I had thought it would go when I was 20. I mean, we say stupid things at 18 and 20. I remember when I was 14, 15 years old, sitting around with all my best friends, we said this, we're going to grow up, we're going to go to college together, we're going to all get married, be in each other's weddings. We're going to live next door to each other. We're going to work, and we're going to retire next door and let our kids play. You know what? I don't even see those friends that I grew up with anymore. They're all living their lives and doing their own things. We get 20 and we think we're going to be a millionaire by the time we're 25. I'm going to go out. I sat down with a young man this week. He's new from out of state. I said, what brings you to Ohio? He said, I'm starting a business. I wanted to say, well, good luck. You came to Springfield to start a business and get rich. Good luck. But you know what? I actually did encourage him. I said, man, good for you for stepping out and doing something. I said, you got a long road ahead of you, don't you? Yeah. I said, it's going to be a hard road, isn't it? Yes. But I'm ready to go. I'm ready to get started. I'm ready to do what it is I do. And he had that passion, and he had something that you and I need to catch on right now. We need to catch on to it today. He had determination that he was going to do what he's going to do. And we can't get frustrated 3 weeks from now, or we can't get frustrated 4 weeks into FPU, We can't get frustrated 6 months after we're done with financial peace that we're not debt-free. Because I said it last week, and I'll tell you again this week, you and I didn't get into debt in 6 months. Some of us have spent years just living in that hole, digging it a little bit deeper every year, because every year we're just a year older and a little bit more in debt. Does everybody agree? Okay. Every year. And it's time for us to make a change. And it's time for us to decide that something different has to happen in our lives. A lot of us this morning are sitting here, we're saying, I'm in bondage. I would like to do some things, but I can't afford to do it. And so last week I said that the next several weeks isn't about placing a guilt trip on you at all. I want your eyes to be open that God designed us to be free. He set up an economic system for us. And He's given people like Dave Ramsey, and He's given people the intelligence to work finances for His people, to give us a plan to get out. And it starts with giving back to God. And last week I said to you that we're not supposed to serve our money, but our money is to serve us as we're serving God. That's the design that God's put into place for us. And there used to be an old rule in the place, and I've heard my dad say it 1,000,000 times. Some of you help me out if you've been around a little while. I'm not going to call you old because you'll get mad at me. But if you're seasoned and you've been around for a little while, what's that old rule that says? If you don't have the money, don't buy it. How many of us, and I am bunching myself in with you. Listen, how many of us, think on this, actually live by that rule? Thank you. Well, some of the tightwads here. But they're smart tightwads. The wife's like. That's why I asked you to serve on that team. Eric Hennigan is going to be leading our finance team this year as we've separated into some administrative teams. I chose Eric and asked Eric to serve that area because he's a tightwad. Yeah. So now when the staff needs thrifty, careful with money. Biblical. That's who all of our expenses will be going through, a team of people now, and then they're going to look at, we got to do something. We've got to do something. And if you would like Eric to do it for you and your household, go see Eric after church. And he'll set up a purchase order system for you for your house. That old rule was there, and back in the in the Great Depression, that's what people had to do, and then it bled into my mom and dad's generation. But somewhere over the last 50 or 60 years, we've kind of changed that thought process to, hey, I only live once. Did you know before the Great Depression, only 2% of American households had a mortgage? Yes, really. Only 2% of American households even held a mortgage. 40 years later, 40 decades later, so what would that have been in the 60s? 2% of American households, only 2% did not hold a mortgage. Or did, let's see, what is that? Is that flip-flight? Yeah. Only 2% did not hold a mortgage. 98% of American households held a mortgage. It flip-flopped. And what happened is the mindset began to change, and it's really, really bad now. I see it now. I see it now all the time in the 20s and 30s that I talk to. They get into a mindset of, I deserve the same lifestyle my parents are living right now. But they fail to realize that their parents have worked for 40 plus years to get to the lifestyle that they have, to get the nicer home, to maybe get a retirement place, a condo, to get a pontoon or a boat to go out and enjoy, to pay cash for a car. They've worked their entire lives and made good decisions their entire lives to get to where they are now. And as a 21 or 22-year-old coming out of college, they say to themselves, I want the 3,000 square foot house, the 4-car garage, the boat, the jet skis, the 4-wheelers, the motorcycle. I want everything that my parents has, the 6-figure income, and I want it now. And so what happened is our culture has become a bunch of financial posers where we walk around pretending we have money, but we're as broke can be. Most of us could not go to even a high interest rate place like American General or whatever those places are called and finance a hot dog. Because the truth is, we have messed ourselves up. And I understand there are circumstances that take place. I understand we lose jobs. I understand the economy doesn't do what we hoped it was going to do. You know, if you're investing into CDs and things right now for your future, the rates aren't coming up anytime soon. Enjoy that 0.15% you're getting, or 0.015. is what it is, or 0.35. The Fed said it's going to be at least 3 more years before we see interest rates come back up. So are we going to follow the world's economy, or should maybe we make up our minds today to follow God's economy? Because I'm going to tell you, we're investing in something. When we're investing with God's economy, we're putting our resources into something that's going to give us a pay that's out of this world. Literally. And there's no one that can help us to manage our resources better than the one that's got the plan that's been in place for thousands of years and has never failed. We have to get out of the mindsets of, I have to have this. I need this. We have to move past the I want this. Proverbs 13:7 says one person, here we are, the financial posers. One person pretends to be rich, yet has nothing. Those people are everywhere. Another pretends to be poor, yet has great wealth. And I've seen that in the industry that I work in. We profile people all the time. Everywhere we go, you and I profile people based on how they look. People will come in and I'll go, oh my gosh, this poor guy. And he'll sit down and have hundreds of thousands of dollars. I tell people all the time when they do big transactions, I'm like, as a personal banker, I get a 10% transaction fee on that. They don't think it's funny either. I don't, Eric. I'm just kidding. Don't tell Sharon that. Eric knows my boss, so please don't. I do it when she's gone. But we've created a culture of what I call posers. And I just think it's time for all of us to take a hard look at ourselves and where we're at in life and begin to start living more and more closer to the biblical values that have been set in place for us. So there's just a few things I want you to see today before we get out here. I'm going to try to move through this pretty quick since we're going a little bit longer today. First of all, I want us to join together and begin to embrace the value. Say the word embrace. Say this. Say, I will embrace the value of self-control. Oh, that made some of you shake, didn't it? You know what I'm talking about. I'm telling you what, I had to embrace it this week. And it's hard because I have shared with you in the past, I am a gadget person, am I not? I love the iPhones, the iPads, all the little gadgets. I was at Sam's Club a few months ago, and I was walking through, I don't know why I do this to myself, but I walked through the electronics department, and I saw this sound bar that's Bluetooth enabled. Has a wireless subwoofer to it. And I was in there with my iPhone, connecting my iPhone to it, playing Planet Shakers, and nothing is impossible. And everybody's looking at me, and I'm over there. I'm like, I got to have this now. I'm not like that J.G. Wentworth. That's my sound bar, and I want it now. So I dug in my pocket. I was going to get out my money, and I went just like this. Uh-oh. I don't have it. And I actually beat the temptation. I went on without it. But I talked about it for 6 weeks to Deidre. I was like, Christmas is coming. And I found something that I want. This week, I have a guy at AT&T store that I've kind of built a relationship with. And he calls me this week and he says, hey, I can get you the iPhone 5. I started sweating. Really. It's like he was my pusher. I was like, give it up! I was going through the DTs. But I didn't give in to the temptation. He said, I'll get you a great deal. Yeah, some of you are like, yeah, good for you. So Deidre said, since you saved that money, no, she didn't. We have to embrace the value together of self-control. If we go to Proverbs chapter 25, verse 28. Proverbs 25:28 says, like a city whose walls are broken through is a person who lacks self-control. Think about that. In the Old Testament, in the biblical times, cities would build fortified walls that would surround the entire city. And those walls were the barrier of protection from the enemy. And so the Proverbs is saying those of us who lack self-control in our lives, we're like those cities with no walls where the enemy can just come in at will and do whatever he wants. The enemy of I need, I deserve, I want is so easy to get into our lives when we have no self-control. When I was a little kid, we would say things, I want it now. I don't want to wait to have the cookie after dinner. My weakness on my whole life has been Oreo cookies. And I'm not going to wait, my mom would even say, I will give you one now or 3 after dinner. Oh, give me the one now. And that's how we live our lives though, isn't it? I can get it now on credit and pay 22.99% interest. Or if I wait 2 or 3 months and just put a little bit of cash back, a little bit each week, then I can get it, because I know if I put it on a credit card, I'm not going to pay that back. Maybe in 6 years. And I know it was only $50, but it's going to take me 6 years to pay that back. And so that's the life we live. I want to talk to the women first. No, don't get mad. But women, there's a pattern that I've seen in ladies. And guys, I'm going to talk to us too. You guys nickel and dime us to death. Just think about it. Honey, I bought this purse to go with this scarf. That matches my new hair color. We went into winter, so I have to lighten things up a little bit. Or darken things up, isn't it? We darken things up. We lighten it up going into the spring, into the summer. But then when I got all that done, I saw this beautiful pair of shoes at Kohl's that was 25% off. And if I use my credit card, I get another 30% off all of that. Honey, I saved us $112 today. And I got a coupon. Yes. I saved us $112 today. And when I hear that, I usually say, but how much did you spend? Because, I spent enough. It's if you spent, it didn't save anything. And ladies have, I have to get my nails done. I have to get my nails done every month. Well, that hit a nerve somewhere. I heard the groan. Oh. But you don't understand. I have to get them done every month, and I got to get everything that matches. Now, men, let me talk to you for a second. We don't nickel and dime anything. We just go for the kill. Hey, you want to go out and see my new car? And the boat? And the 2 jet skis behind it. Now, we're not going to eat for the next 6 months, but my golly, we'll be able to get out on the water. We just kind of go for that kill all at once. And so let me ask a question, ladies, first. Do you really have to have your nails done once a month? Really? Think about it. Do you really think that guys care about your nails? Have you ever heard guys stand in the corner and go, do you see the set of nails on that girl? Do you think they're real? You ever heard any guys say that? Help me. Just pray for me, Forrest. Pray for me. I don't see Steve Pollock here, so I can say this. Guys, as much as I love the game of golf, If we can't afford it, do we really need to play it twice a week? I mean, some of us, golf has become expensive. If we're playing golf twice a week, that's at least $50 a week. That's $200 a month. That's a decent used car payment. It might be tide dollars going to the golf course. That's $200 extra dollars we could, I'm not saying we can't enjoy our lives. But if we make a commitment for a time, we're really going to enjoy our lives. The problem is we're trying to enjoy our lives and live above what our income is allowing us to live. And then we live our lives miserably strapped. Do we really need to buy the $4 cup of coffee every morning? $20 a week for coffee, and you can go buy Folgers for $8 a can, and it'll last you 2 months. My coffee? I don't drink coffee, not a whole lot. We have it at work. I can sneak it from the finance department. They have all the money, the investments. Parents, and I'm guilty of this too, we want our kids to live a better life than what we ever thought about living. And it hit me this week. Did my 12-year-old really need the iPhone? I'm looking at it, and I'm like, all it does is consume their time. We go out to dinner to have a family dinner, and all the kids are going. Me and Deidre get caught in that too. And I start thinking, gosh, if I would have done this, if I would have. How different would my life be right now? It's just a matter of our choices and our decisions. If we can make some decisions now, and if we can sacrifice, listen, I'm reading into Financial Peace University. I saw something that I'm going to show you here that Dave Ramsey came up with himself that I'm thinking, my gosh, it's not going to take me 10 years to get out of debt. The average person can do it in 21 months. That's not even a 2-year commitment. Without increasing your income, guys. Without having to hit the big one. The average person can do it in 21 months. Are we that undisciplined that we can't do something for 21 months that will change our lives for the rest of our lives? That will revolutionize the way we're living? And so I came across this saying this week is that I need to, and I'm speaking for me, I need to learn to say no for a little while so that it will give me the opportunity to be able to say yes for the rest of my life. So it comes with making a decision and making a choice today. And I said it a little bit earlier, so for the next couple of years, I'm going to have to live like no one else lives so that I'll be able to live like no one else lives. I think all the time, what would it be like to not have a house payment? Holy mackerel. What would it be like to not have 2 car payments strapping me down? To be able to say, you know what, I think to my family, let's go away for a couple of nights. Well, how are we going to do it? Well, we have the money. We can't do that now. We got to plan a 2-night stay 4 months in advance because we're strapped. I don't know about you, I want to get out of that. I want to stop that. So we're going to embrace the value of self-control. And I'll say this, I need to embrace the value of sacrifice. Say it again, I need to embrace the value of sacrifice. Hebrews, no, you don't have to say it. Oh, Lord. You guys are like the people. State your name, state your name. Hebrews 12:2, this is what it says. This is a good picture of sacrifice. Hebrews 12:2 says, let us fix our eyes on Jesus, the author and perfecter or finisher of our faith. For the joy set before him, the joy of God's people set before him, he endured the cross. Because he loved you and me more than anything that he could love. Whether we serve him or not, his love is there. His sacrifice was the fact that he endured the cross. And we have to get into the habit of giving up something that we love for something that we're going to love even more in life. And I think we would love even, how many would love to just be debt-free? Then you need to make that decision today. Maybe you need, and listen, I know some of this sounds extreme because when I start thinking about this, I think, oh my gosh, that's extreme. But then I start thinking what we're paying for this stuff. Maybe we need to cancel cable television and go with $8.99 a month Hulu or something to have a debt-free Christmas. Maybe if we did that one time, we would go, wow, that really felt good. Because I started adding up what we're paying to watch television and have the internet at my home. I was astounded after I was looking at all the charges we get charged. Maybe we need to make a decision like that, or maybe we just stay where we're at in the house that we have, and it may be a little small and cramped right now, but maybe we just stay right there for a little bit longer. We looked at moving in September, and then we just made the decision we're going to stay right where we're at because we have to put a plan together to get out, to be unstrapped. Maybe if you're looking at going to college, you get 2 or 3 roommates and let them pay for your rent, and you sacrifice a bedroom and sleep on the couch so that you can get your school paid for and not have to carry the burden of student loans. I'm 40 and still paying student loans. Maybe we brown bag it to work. That's something I was thinking about this week, is just packing a little cooler every day. Because I spend about $8 a day to eat lunch. That's $40 a week, $160 a month that I could put towards debt if I would just brown bag it to work. So I'm going to put my little cooler together and everything that I want and just start taking my food to work. Because we go out and we buy the $7 sandwich and the $4 coffee. And then we got to have dessert. It's another $3.50. And we spend $13, $15 a day trying to eat and trying to just go out and have that lunch together. And it adds up over time. Here we are nickel and diming ourselves. You know, there was a survey or a study done, and they just took the average cost of lunch every day. And if let's say we're in a job for 40 years, I know it's a long time, but if for 40 years we would brown bag it to lunch if we would brown bag lunch every day, we would save an average of $112,000 over the course of 40 years. That's a lot of money. That's a whole lot of money that I would love to have. So we have to begin to change our mind, especially when we're going into purchasing things. You know, and I'm learning a whole lot being in the finance world now. We typically go in and we ask questions. We don't really look at the terms. If we're going to finance something, and I realize there are things you have to finance. We have to finance a house. Most of the time we have to finance a car if we're not going to buy a $4,000 car. It's just a part of life. But we're asking some of the wrong questions. We're asking, well, how much down? And we don't look at the fine details of what the bank or the finance institution has to offer. And we ask 2 things. How much down and what else? How much a month? I don't care that it's 24.9% interest for this car loan as long as I know the monthly payment's where I need it to be. And we ask the wrong questions. What we should be asking, and what I will be asking in the future, is what is the real cost? What am I really paying for if I have to finance this. Last week I brought some statistics to you that those carrying a credit card balance averaged right now, currently going into 2013, the average credit card balance is $14,517. And it's because some of us nickel and dime it to death, some of us do it in large ways. Hey, let's take that trip. Boom, $8,000 because we take that trip with the family. Oh, we'll pay it back this year. And then we can't take a trip next year because we're still paying off last year's trip. It comes down to decisions. You don't understand, I have to have the movie theater chair package with the sound bar and the subwoofer and the biggest TV, the 70-inch flat screen. And I know the room I'm putting it in is only 10 by 10 because I have a one-bedroom apartment. But it's going to be like sitting on the front row of the theater. So let's say you have a $14,000 balance on a credit card. Your average payment on a $14,000 credit card is going to be $217 and some odd cents a month. Most credit cards now are anywhere from 14.5% to 22.9%. Some people are at 29.99% interest. It's going to take you upwards of 40 years to pay off $14,000, just making the $217 minimum payment. So that $14,000 credit card over the life of 40 years is going to cost you $104,606.40. Wow. Now, we sit there and go, whoa, those are big numbers. But you know what? This is exactly what we're doing. We're living it. We're living the dream, baby. Aren't we? It's because we're not making the right choices. Now, if we were to take, just hypothetically, if we were to take that $14,500 and we could find, I don't know, maybe there's a good bank somewhere like Huntington, something like that, downtown, the big main branch. There's a great personal banker there. As soon as you walk in, he's right over to the right. I see him every day. If you were to find a bank that had an astronomical interest, let's say 12%. How many remember the days of 10 and 12% interest rates? There you go. The days when Noah pulled up. No, I'm just kidding. Let's say you found a bank that do 12% interest. If you was able to take that same $14,000 balance, get 12% interest on it over the life of 40 years, do you know what you would retire with? Over $1.3 million. You see the difference of how we can live? Just by changing our mind and making the right choices. If you take that same $14,000 balance and add every month what you would pay on your minimum payment of $217 over the life of 4 years at the same interest rate, you know what you would retire with? Almost $3.6 million. See, these are things we don't think about. And just to be completely honest, for me, why? Because I live in the now. I have to have it now. And I have learned my mindset has to change. I have to change. Or I'm going to get to be 65, 70 years old and start into retirement and have nothing but a bunch of debt. Something has to change in my life. I don't know about yours, but this is the direction I'm going. I'm changing my life. I want you to do the same thing, because if we revolutionize our lives, we're going to revolutionize our church. And I need you on board with that. And so I'm learning now I'm going to have to give up some things I love for what I'm going to love more down the road. And I'm going to love a whole lot more being out of debt in the next 2 years than being strapped 2 years from now and going, well, I'm just 2 years older and a little bit more in debt. We could make a huge difference in our lives and in the lives of our family, in the lives of our children, and in the lifespan of this church if we were out of debt. So embrace the value of self-control. Embrace the value of sacrifice. And embrace the value, say, I will. See, you're declaring it today. I'm making you. Embrace The value of. No, you didn't say it right. The value of. There you go. Planning. That's right. In order for us to get there, we have to plan some things. Luke chapter 14, you know it for time's sake, just bring it up. Luke 14, suppose one of you wants to build a tower. Will he not first sit down and estimate the cost to see if he has enough money to complete that tower? We have to put a plan in place, and starting January 31st, we're going to start learning what that plan is for all of us. Proverbs 21:5. The plans of the diligent lead to what? Oh, you guys, do you not believe it? The plans of the diligent lead to? Ooh, that's a good word. Profit. As surely as haste leads to? Poverty. And that's where we need to break out of, is poverty. Because poverty is not only a physical condition, it's a mindset and it's a spiritual condition. And we're going to work on breaking out of that over the next several weeks. You know, Dave Ramsey said this. I heard him say this. He said, you can wander into debt, but you'll never wander out of it. So we have to plan to get out of debt. And Dave Ramsey has put together a plan for us. Thank God that there is a Christian man out there that understands the needs of God's people and understands the plan to get us into a good position. And so he put a couple of things into place. First of all, they're baby steps. He says we need to try to save and put back at least $1,000 for emergencies. Just $1,000. I mean, the ultimate goal, I think, is 3 to 6 months of income. And I know that's impossible to do in 3 to 6 months. But if we can start saving to where you know what, I'm almost halfway there. Just in 4 or 6 weeks. I'm almost halfway there just by putting a little bit in savings. Every time, just a little bit in savings. I'm about halfway there. Things happen. The air conditioner breaks down. A couple weeks ago, Deidre calls me and says, the car won't steer right. What's going on? I don't know. Pull over. Both tires went flat. Had to replace the tires, had to replace the rims on the wheels. The week before Christmas. It was expensive. And when we have emergency funds in place, we can take care of that. There's going to be a ball that goes through a window. There's going to be an appliance that breaks down. The car breaks down. The kids are going to beg you for, I'm telling you the order my kids get. I'm keeping it up. They owe me each $121,000 already. And so for some of us to get to that $1,000 maybe a little bit quicker, maybe we need to go through our house and look at what we can sell. Maybe we just take a small second job. Just something small to pick up a few bucks. Maybe you're handy with your hands. Maybe there's something you can offer people. Maybe you become an eBay freak and start putting everything you can that you're not using. It is amazing to me in our house what we don't use that we could get rid of. Anybody else the same? Okay. That, one man's junk is another man's treasure. So we can get on eBay and get that money. Maybe we could, in our basement, we literally have cases, the cases you can buy of ramen noodles. And when the kids come and go, I want to order a pizza, we say, go make some ramen noodles. I've had them 3 times this week. Well, then you should be used to it. Go eat some more ramen noodles. We're not cheap, we're careful. We're getting careful. That's right. And maybe we clip coupons, not the Groupons, because it's usually stuff you don't need. You don't need the leg wax and everything else that comes with 20% off. It's just a change of lifestyle, so we got to start with some baby steps. As quickly, how many of you will commit with me? And I want to see your hands. And if you don't. I'm not going to. How many will commit with me? I'm going to try to get to $1,000 as quick as possible and get it in savings. It'd be awesome if most of us could do that by the time our class started. I know 4 weeks is hard to do. But you know what? In 6 weeks, I'm halfway there, almost halfway there. And then lastly, we're going to watch this together and then we're going to get out of here. He has what he calls the debt snowball. Will we learn more about that in FPU? Okay, we're going to learn a lot about this in FPU, but I really want you to pay attention to this clip. This is from Pastor Craig Groeschel of Life Church out of Oklahoma. He is a very good friend with Dave Ramsey and was able to put this together. So I want you to watch the debt snowball. Play that for us.
What I'm going to show you is what finance legend and my good friend Dave Ramsey calls the debt snowball. This is the absolute best and fastest way to get unstrapped and to free yourself from the bondage of debt. What I'm about to cover with you is one of the most important things that you can ever learn about your personal finances. Are you ready? Let's do it. Look at the bottom of your notes and let's attack this together. Here's what we've got. This is an imaginary list of our debts, what we owe to others. In this sample list, you'll see the different people or businesses we owe listed in the first column. In the second column, you'll find the amount that's owed to each one. You see, we owe $450 to Lowe's for the power tools that we always wanted, $650 to Target for the cute top, the belt, the earrings, and the hat to match, plus the ketchup, Oreos, and pickles, and all the other things you craved when you were pregnant. We also owe $1,600 to our parents, who let us borrow the money to replace our air conditioning unit when it went down, and so on. In the third column, you'll see the minimum payment. This is the minimum amount that we're required to pay each month, and we've been faithfully paying the minimum, but we are sick and tired of being strapped. So, what are we going to do? Again, what we're going to look at is something that could change your life forever. Here's what's going to happen. You're going to find an extra $200 a month. Now, you're probably thinking, where in the world am I going to find an extra $200 a month? And that's a good question. I don't know the answer to the question, but you will find it. You'll get very, very creative and find $200 extra a month. If you have to take a second job delivering pizzas, or if you have to eliminate your satellite television or your mobile data plan, or start brown bagging it, or skipping your $4 daily dose of overpriced caffeine, or whatever, you'll find $200 a month. And what you do with this $200 a month will change future generations. Here's how it'll play out. Let's start with Lowe's. We owe them $450. Your minimum payment, remember, is $50. Now, you'll pay them $50 and add to it the $200 that we just found, totaling $250 a month. And within a matter of only a couple of months, Lowe's is gone. Bye-bye, Lowe's. We'll never have to worry about that debt again. Now, we're going to let the money start to snowball away the debt. How will we do it? Now we're going to attack Target. We've already been paying Target $30 a month. Now we're going to take the $30 and add to it $250 a month. Now you may ask, where did we get $250 a month? You remember, we just freed up $250 a month because we paid off Lowe's. Now we're going to take that $250 and the $30, and together we have $280, and guess what? In just a matter of a couple of months, Target is gone as well, and the snowball is starting to get bigger. Now, let's take our parents. We're paying them $200 a month. We'll add to it the $280 that we freed up because we no longer have to pay Lowe's or Target, and now we've got $480 a month going to pay off Mom and Dad. Again, in a matter of a few short months, Mom and Dad are paid for, they're happy, we're happy, and we're going to take this money and let it grow every single month and apply it to the next debt that we owe, starting with the smallest amount of debt so we can knock it out, and going piece by piece down to the largest. We're going to pay off all of our debt with the debt snowball. We're going to wipe out everything we owe but the house. Now, how will this benefit you in the long run? Let me show you something that is really, really amazing. If you just continue to pay minimum payments, like so many people do, if you're taking notes, write this down. It's going to take you 120 months to pay off your debt. That's 10 years before you pay off all this debt, and that's assuming you don't take on any more. Now, watch this. If you do the debt snowball, your payoff time is not 120 months, not 10 years, but instead only 21 months. That's a difference of 99 months of not paying any debt. Can you say, wow? Now, buckle your seatbelt and get ready for this. If you take $1,110, now, where do we get $1,110? If you look at the debt we just paid off, you freed up $1,110 a month in debt payments that you no longer have. If you take that money and invest it at 8% for that same 99 months that you would have been paying off your debt, at the end of that time period, guess how much money you'll have? You'll have $153,992.30. Check it out. In most parts of the world, what will that buy you? That will buy you a house paid for in cash, totally debt-free, including a house in only 10 years. You can do it if you'll get crazy with the debt snowball. Let no debt remain outstanding except the continual debt to love. We don't serve money, we serve God. Money serves us as we serve God. If you live like no one else, one day you can live like no one else.
That's right. That's exactly right. And we have to get focused. We have to have a goal in mind. And we have to have a vision together to reach that goal. Proverbs 6:5, last scripture. Free yourself. Say, free myself. Oh, you got to believe it. I know it might seem insurmountable, but CrossPointe, we can do this. If you don't believe you can do this, you're just going through the motions. You have to set your mind to it and do it. We can do this together. You're not in this alone. Your pastor's with you in this. And we're going to fight through this together. I dream for a day that if something goes wrong in this church, we can write a check for it. And I have to come up and go, hey guys, we need $2,000. $2,000. I know it's a lot for some of us, but for a business it's not. For a church it shouldn't be. We have a parking lot that needs completely replaced, and to do that is $70,000 to $80,000. And I'm willing to sacrifice a parking lot and some space for us to get out of debt. For our homes, our families to get out of debt. So you have to believe that you can do this. It's not so I can get in your business or you can get in mine. But if we're doing this together, we can hold each other accountable. We're going to do this at the same time. We're going to see increase in our homes. We're going to see increase in our church. We're going to see increase for a future. You have to know in your mind, we can do this. You're not too far gone. We can do this. And we can do this together. Free yourself like a gazelle from the hand of the hunter. They're pretty crafty and they're quick and they're determined. Like a bird from the snare of the fowler. And you have to be able to see the vision in your mind of you getting debt free. I heard a comment yesterday in a business meeting, and I love it, and I'm going to use it from this point on. That there are two types of people when it comes to achieving your goals and your vision. There are the pigeons and the eagles. And you can't be a pigeon and see what the eagle sees. Because a pigeon's always looking down. You need to begin to soar like an eagle, even if you're an eagle steeped in debt. Soar like an eagle and see a bigger picture and a plan beyond tomorrow, and a plan beyond 6 months, and a plan beyond the next year. But look at the scope of your life, of even if you're in your 40s or 50s, where you can be in the next 20 years by being debt-free. I believe that's God's plan for us, and we've ignored it. I have ignored it. Out of frustration, out of stupid decisions, out of just, hey, it's my life. Every excuse that you've said in your own home. But something's got to change for us. My money does not, I don't serve my money. My money serves me as I'm serving God. That's how we're supposed to live. Let's bow our heads. I'm sorry for going longer today. I'm telling you what, it starts today. We are going to break the poverty mindset in this church. We're going to break the poverty spirit. We're going to realize it's more than just a physical condition, but it's also a thought process, and it's also a spiritual condition. We're going to break that in this church, and we're going to set ourselves up for a great future together, wherever God leads us from this point on. Father, thank you for having something in place for us, God. Thank you for men like Dave Ramsey, whose calling and ministry is to get to your people. God, for decades we've been sending the wrong message to our communities and to those around us. We've been talking about how you're a God of more than enough while we're living strapped, debt-filled lives. You are a God of more than enough. You are a God of provision. You are a God that's full and that's great. But God, forgive us because we haven't represented who you are with our stuff, with our money, with our belongings. So I pray, God, from this point forward that we would be very decisive. That today, families, God, I pray at least half of the families in this church would make the decision today to break out of debt. It's going to be hard. We're going to be gung-ho at first, but 6 months from now, it's going to be so tempting to go right back to where we were. I pray, God, that you would allow us to hold each other accountable. God, help us to do what it is we set our minds to do. Because, God, it's only going to free us up. It's going to free this church up. God, and we're going to really represent in how we manage what you've given us. We're going to represent you because we're going to be able to do so much more in ministry and to support so much more in ministry and to move your church forward and your word forward even more as you resource us more and pass those through our hands. Because we won't have to keep the resource you give us, all of it, because we'll be out of debt. God, I want to be eventually like my friend in Columbus that I spent New Year's Eve with, who draws a $12,000 annual salary because he's learned how to live on 10 and give back 90. He draws nothing. He draws a poverty level income, but lives like a king. Because he's followed your principles most of his life. And now he's building missions in Haiti. He's sending trucks over and materials to those that don't have a job or a trade. And he's training people around the world. And while he's doing that in a trade, he's giving them the message of Christ. Why is he able to do that? Because he's resourced by you. And for years, he planned right. He spent his life working a job and planning just right. And now he's doing, God, what he's been called to do. So I pray, God, we wouldn't get in a hurry, that we wouldn't rush you. But Father, we would just follow the plan and let you do the rest. Keep us committed, Lord. Keep us accountable. And God, we'll give you the glory for it. We'll give you the thanks for it. There'll be a testimony in it for others to hear. In Jesus' name we pray. Everybody said, amen and amen. Listen, if you are feeling guilty through this, you need to shake that guilt off. It's a year of a new start, a fresh start. And we're going to start fresh together. God bless you all so much. Thank you for being here today. We will see you next Sunday.